Hey guys, Skipper here, and I'm bringing another video. This one is, of course, a Napoleon Total War. This time, we are on the Salamanca Province, which is a Spanish town, and of course all the lands around it. It is a 4v4, so this is another large-scale battle. I mean, I personally prefer the large-scale battles, not only to play, but to show you. They aren't necessarily an indication of skill, because you can find yourself against multiple opponents and no strategy could, unless you're a genius, no strategy could beat 4 or 3 armies against you when you've got depleted troops, etc. So it's not necessarily the most strategic, but I find it really exciting, really tense, huge scale. It's just one of those fun things that makes Napoleon a great game online. And so let's just see, we're playing as Salamanca Province. I'm playing as Prussia. I always go on about my different unit selection. I generally either play as Prussia, France, or Britain, because Britain has the most expensive troops, but they are the best quality, so they're good on large-scale battles like this, which is why there's 2 British players on my side. There's also 2 British players on the other side. And then France and Prussia are the other choices. They also work from 1v1s up to 4v4s because they've got decent quality and they're not quite as expensive as Britain, so you can get a nice army composition with them. So there's 2 Britain, 2 Prussia on my team. My allies is there, as you can see. I'm deployed on the far right, so away from the town. And my opponents, there's 2 French players, 2 players playing as French, I mean, and 2 players playing as Great Britain as well. So yeah, the nations are fairly similar, which is kind of good. As you see, we've already started. I think it was a large amount of money. I think. Unit size isn't ultra, as I usually play, or large. I think it's either medium or small. I genuinely can't tell. I'm sure someone could tell me that. Anyway, at this point I realised that I was filming my machinima, which you should all go check out. I made a machinima to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Waterloo. I'll put a link in the video description. But because of that, I didn't have any of my UI on, so I couldn't see all these flags above the units, which made things drastically hard for me, but I coped. And so it takes me a while to get going, but pretty much I am trying to just get as far right as I can, so I can do my usual wrapping tactic, which is just to fold the enemy inwards by getting their flanks, and so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm heading out to the flanks. We're not communicating in this battle, me and my teammates, which is of course drastically different to... Hang on. Actually, I've changed the in-game music to Boccherini. It's quite loud. Hang on, I'll just sort that out. Okay, there we go, it's a bit quieter now. So yeah, there wasn't really a plan. That's the difference between last battle. Last battle we were all communicating and sorting things out, but I wasn't really in the mood for communicating, and my teammates weren't really team players. I think these were, in fact it was obvious these were communicating. You can tell from what happens in the battle. Anyways, I go straight to the right. The person right next door to me, I can't remember what they're called, they're playing as United Kingdom. They just spread all the way from the town up to me. They've got quite a large infantry-based army. So that's good. This Prussian player really wasn't a team player. He held back along here whilst we were all advancing, so that didn't help. And same with the British player, I think he was kind of forced to. He on the left, just him and his opponent just literally sat here and stood for most of the battle. And so did this Prussian player next to him, meaning both me and Britain advanced, tried to take the right. Unfortunately, that of course led to us facing 3 opponents. So I'll show you what happens. It's quite interesting. He's slightly ahead of me because I'm trying to sort out my UI, and also he runs his units. I'm trying to march. I don't want to wear them out right at the start of the battle, because I know I've probably got a lot of work to do if I capture this right flank, which, as you can see, is open. My opponent is sitting on that hill and has not bothered to cover this right flank, so I'm of course going to exploit that. Both the players on this right flank, both playing as France, our opponents, they both have the same clan tag, so I believe they were in TeamSpeak communicating. And also they're supported by the United Kingdom players next to them, who spreads all the way across the battlefield because Prussia holds back. Of course we start capturing buildings within the town. We've captured this one, and our opponents have captured this one. So we're advancing up. Britain's slightly ahead of me. Let me go through my unit composition. So I've got 2 foot guards, 3 lancers. This is my lancers. I've got 3 of those. 1 on this side with my general, 2 lancers on the other side. Split my line of 3 in 2. I've got 2 foot guards, one here, one on the other flank. I believe 8 units of line infantry. Yeah, 8 units of line infantry and 3 Schlesien-Schützen, which are the elite rifle troops of Prussia, who are taking the centre. As you can see from my layout, it's quite usual. I'm just trying to spread out. I've got one flank here, rifles in the centre, and then the other flank here, which I'm about to move up. And I've tried to evenly distribute my cavalry. I've got more cavalry on this side because this is more central, therefore in a sense it would be more suicidal for my opponents to directly attack. So I've just got the one lancer unit and my general, so I feel as though the infantry here will not need as much support, whereas here, if I'm ambushed, these are open units, and so I've got 2 lancers to help out. And of course the rifles are safest right in the centres, because if someone charges them, seeing as they are undefended, it means they suddenly find themselves in the middle of my lines, and that just makes my job a lot easier. So anyway, as you can see, Britain, next to me, my ally on Britain, has engaged with the French on this hill. He is fighting an uphill battle, which is always bad, but he does have better troop quality. See, the French have tried charging their cavalry, and they do have a lot of missile cav, which is quite interesting. But my opponent just formed squares, which of course result in a lot of French casualties. The French in the town don't try advancing. I mean, if I was the Frenchman, I'd be trying to get on this flank here. See, he is moving some young guard up here, but I don't think they fully try to wrap around. He doesn't quite exploit the flanks as I would. Instead, they just focus on this one battle here. For example, here, he doesn't try and wrap around. He does use his voltigeurs, who are skirmishers, to shoot into the flanks, but it's not the same as wrapping. I believe either one, he was not focused on trying to wrap to win the battle. He was focused on just pushing and blasting through, as is a common tactic when you're on a hill. Or he was sensible enough to see that I had quite clearly won the entire right side of the battlefield, and was, of course, as you can see from the blue lines, which is where I'm marching my units, going to wrap around this hill. So realizing that my opponent had already engaged, I don't want him to fall too quickly, I decided to hurry my troops up. These walked, because I know if these ran, then I'd be far away. But my right flank is running, and they're going to try and sweep up through this forest around the back. My lancers, of course, far flank, in order to try and backstab and support when necessary. My rifles, I originally have them here to just complete the circle, but I eventually, as you can see, I move right up this hill, realizing it's undefended. I don't have room for them, so I decided to do double line screen, which is where you have the units spread out, therefore they crouch, and my light tree can shoot over them, so I put them in front of my lines. See, I've marched my lines up, and I marched them up further so that they can fire and they are in line with the British. This, of course, means that I move my rifles in front, form double line screened, and then of course I have to readjust this right flank, advancing through the hill, to go further around. He does have a hidden unit of young guard in the forest, but that is one unit against my entire flank, and so it doesn't cause an issue. I charge both my lancers, hoping to get him into square formation so I can wrap around him. As you can see, my gambit works. He goes into square, I immediately pull my lancers out with very little casualties, and whilst he's in square, he either gets out of square to stop me from wrapping around him, as you can see I'm starting to do with those blue lines. Wrapping around means I'll pretty much break him, so surrounding him. But then he is open to my cavalry, or he can stay in square to stop my cavalry from advancing. We were moving around here, resulting in, you know, this happening. Me surrounding him, and of course I defeat this unit of young guard. As my units move up, I have started engaging, double line screened. I've got my rifles in front crouch, my line infantry behind, maximum firepower. Rather effective. He takes a number of casualties. His general's here open, but I don't want to charge because I don't want to lose my cavalry too early. I do like to conserve troops. Of course, I've got my general and my lancers here to support if necessary on this flank, but thankfully I'm not doing too badly with a solid British line, which isn't something to just wave around, plus me completely getting on his flank. Anyway, he does charge. He has some hidden units, I don't know where they were hiding, but he tries to get my general, but I send my lancers into cover and I managed to escape with my general. That was a lull in my concentration because I was moving up here. I charge my lancers up into this flank to, you know, really cause a wrap so I can move my units around. He gets into a square. Oh, well, he tries to get into a square with his Swiss foot, but I break it. and his Voltigeurs, who are completely on the flank, are open, meaning I can really push up. His stakes here become ineffective, and his general is open for a minute, but he pulls that away. As you can see, he's got another chasseur unit open. I start moving away, which is why that unit routed. So I'm still engaging with the young guard. I started moving my units away, therefore this one routed, and this one is of course supporting line. Because my wrapping is more important than one unit. I see this unit coming, but he ignores the melee fire and tries to go for my musketeers up here, who I'm preparing to square. Then I realise that they are a missile troop, so this happens. He shoots me instead of melee charging. I'm hoping to get a decent volley, but I don't know what he's doing. At that point, I just turn this unit around. Yeah, he shot me there. So I just turn this unit around and I fire back with a line infantry volley, which is much more deadly. Actually, I'm really getting behind this unit's flank, behind the French flanks. My lancers are still causing havoc, meaning that I have room to do so without taking any casualties. And he's making the big mistake of wrapping inwards towards his allies, which just completely allows me to get round him. Unfortunately, though, because Prussia here is just sitting on this hill and camping along with my other British ally, it means that half of the furthest away army plus the other British army next to him of my enemy have both started fighting me and my British ally, which means we are now fighting 4 armies. Actually, one of my allies, the British ally next to me, has had his general killed, which means that these British units are getting really depleted. His solid lines are wavering. He has lost his units in the town.
The entire unit is dead, sir.
You see, I'm hiding my general in that forest. I mean, you can't hide generals, but I don't want him to get charged by cavalry. No, as you see, he tries to charge this unit of infantry in the end with his missile cav. So I form a square and beat them. I'm further pushing up. This French enemy is, of course, constantly retreating, so I keep following, as is natural. They're making the huge mistake of just letting me get on their flanks. But what becomes evident is I am fighting 4 opponents. There's 2 French opponents in this forest, and Britain is also supporting. At the moment, they're focusing on my British ally, who is really weak and about to rout. But both of their British allies are helping, because both of my allies are, as I say, just sitting here doing absolutely nothing. Which is why, as I say, just like in my live online commentary, the commentary wasn't live, but the battle was on. I think it was Ligny, the last one I uploaded. You see, we had a lot of teamwork there. We were constantly communicating. It was live, the footage, not the commentary, but you could see me typing away, and we completely planned that battle. This one there was no communication at all. So as you can see, it was just. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to support, and both me and my British allies seemed to get this good support. We completely took the right, but then of course our other allies weren't helping, and that just meant that we were against 4 opponents, and so I lose my ally and I find myself on my own. So let's see what happens here. See, I've defeated these units over here with this infantry unit, and then of course came up to support. I'm just constantly pushing and pushing and pushing. I send in my rifles first because at this stage in the battle, where the skirmish phase is over, which actually happens very quickly on larger scale battles, my rifles become much more dispensable. So I'm using them as a kind of cannon fodder. As you can see, my general was killed. I don't know what he was doing over here. Oh, I don't know what he's doing anyway. Alright, either way, he went off strolling somewhere without my orders and got killed. That doesn't matter. He was dispensable. So yeah, I'm using my rifles as kind of cannon fodder. I'm moving them forward first, so I suck up the ammunition from inside this forest, and it allows my infantry, which are going to win or lose the battle for me. As you see from all of my online battles and all of the other Let's Plays I do that involve line infantry, the bulk of my army, the spine of my army, the majority of my army is the line infantry, and so I play the battle around them. You can consider them the kind of Lionel Messi of Barcelona. They are what everything revolves around. They are how I win or how I lose, depending on how they perform and how I use them. And so I am using them to as good effect as I can by sucking up the enemy's ammunition with my skirmishers instead of the line infantry. As you can see, I can't really wrap around the left because I was relying on my British ally there, and he has just been obliterated. And so if I push my left, I will overextend my lines, and that will just mean that I will get outnumbered and defeated. And so instead I push on the right, where I notice that no one is really defending. I push my entire line forward, seeing as I have slightly overextended and my ally is forward, to try and make up for the losses. And I further push on the right. So instead of, because I had room, I was in a kind of triple lined formation with my units. But now, as you can see, I've had to push to 2/1 lines with my units because I've lost my ally. I'm against 3 opponents. He charged me with his rifles here. No, his missile cav is what I meant. Don't know why I said rifles. And I get to go with this unit. I can't with this unit because I've already lost enough men. And then he tries to charge my rifles, but as he's in melee with them, I just shoot over him. Actually, this infantry unit has arrived, and so I really push along this right into this forest. See, my men are absolutely exhausted, that's why they're running really slowly. And I'm just trying to get on this right flank, and he keeps retreating into his kind of blob, which strategically is a no-no, but the fact that he outnumbers me does cause issues. You know, as you can see, I defeated that cavalry unit that charged me, and now I'm in melee with his... my foot guards are in melee with his Polish Legion, so I should win that, because foot guards are better than the Polish Legion, and they're less depleted. My worry is if they shoot me, but they're not. I don't think my opponents were the most strategically sound, as you can see from the way they just let me wrap around them, and they aren't supporting melee charges with... or cavalry charges with infantry fire. He's just throwing grenades at me, but I just shatter him with volley fire from my line infantry. He's charging his voltigeurs with skirmishers, and I'm guessing that's because he ran out of ammunition, so they become disposable, but of course they're easy to take out in melee. And because I've pushed so far on his right, he tries to counter that unsuccessfully. And so that allows me to just work on the left. If I lose the right, I work on the left, and that's what I'm currently doing. He tries to charge me, but I, of course, repel him. As you can see here. Big blob here. My infantry is trying to hold off 2 voltigeur units whilst having grenades thrown at from these Dutch grenadiers. You know, I tried to push up here, however, as I say, they're getting support from Britain as well, who charge in, plus I'm outnumbered by 2 French opponents, so this unit will fall, despite putting up a heroic stand, and that's the same all the way along here. I just won the battle with this unit, so I start marching them up. I win most of these melee fights, but they just keep setting more in, and as you see, I'm losing men. See, look how small this line has come. 17 out of 80 men left, plus I've got British cavalry out here on my flanks, Scots Greys, elite cavalry, and of course British line infantry over here. Considering Britain was over there on the map. Speaking of which, in fact no, I'll finish off my battle before showing that. So this unit of course breaks after being attacked by 2 French and 1 British infantry units, as does this. The Young Guard charge out and break it, which leaves this 1 unit left on this flank, and they're charged by the Young Guard. There's a lot of Young Guard. He charges his cavalry into me, but I can't do anything because this unit's too small to go into square, and so I just melee charge my units into here in a final charge. As you can see, that unit instantly breaks from the Scots Greys charging it. And then of course he charges his way back. Absolutely nothing I could have done. Can't do square. Ran out of troops. I know that I've lost this battle now. I wouldn't say that I did anything, but of course there's always room for improvement. I wouldn't say I did anything that can be said that was my fault that I lost this battle. I think it's just the fact I was fighting against 4/3 opponents. Every time they lost a unit, they could just reinforce with another. I couldn't do that, seeing as I was on my own. My British ally fell. He did a lot of great work, credit to him. But if I had to fault anyone, it would be this Prussian army and, of course, the British unit next to him, who I'm moving on to. He finally advanced, now that me and my ally have fallen, and he's just in a big line skirmishing here, and he's getting surrounded. along here he's being pushed because Prussia hasn't advanced enough with him. They try to, but they're slow and they are very clumped. As you see, I have just lost my final unit here. That is me out of the battle, along with my ally. So I GG it. It's only now that our allies do anything. Prussia advances but too clumped and with too many long-range troops to do any use, plus he stays in the house, which is fair enough. No artillery and max 5 skirmishers were the rules in this battle, but you shouldn't just leave units in buildings if you're going to advance the rest of your army, because it just yeah, you just don't do that. Sir John Moore, so my furthest away ally who's playing as Britain, bought Sir John Moore, left him in the forest, not even using him. Quite an expensive general, which means that he can't have very many troops. Whilst they do have some of the best troops, he is fighting against an equal opponent, but he's also playing against Britain. And they just overextend his lines, and that allows his enemy and their allies to crush him, considering there's 4 of them and 2 of us left now that me and my ally have been wiped out. Prussia hasn't advanced enough, which means that there's a separation between the British and the Prussian lines. And it's kind of hard to tell because of the forest and all the smoke, but Britain does break through here. They break a couple of units, but look at all this space. Neither army utilizes this flank. I think it's just because this person's line's already been overextended. Look how small the units are, taking enough casualties. He's shooting into the back of his own units with riflemen. He is killing this foot unit and more with the rifleman behind it. He doesn't realise that there is friendly fire on this game. So I have no explanation for that. It just doesn't understand the game. But so is his enemy with his light foot. Although I don't think these Lightfoot are they fight? Yes, they are. So both of these people, I'm not sure what they're doing, but they're shooting their own men. But this person's lines are overextended. They don't utilize the left flank. They can't because they don't have enough troops. They're just getting depleted. And both British armies, because Prussia has not advanced enough, just ultimately crush his right flank, their left flank. And he doesn't have enough men to form a square, so these cavalry charges just obliterate, especially seeing from the flank, and he doesn't do anything. No, he is breaking this left flank in fairness, but he's not utilising it enough. He tries to with rifles, but you don't use rifles to rout. That doesn't work. It defeats the whole purpose of getting close and breaking. As you see, the French have taken this town pretty solidly, with no opposition. Prussia has kind of pulled back. Now, I'm going to see if I can show you the issue with Prussia's formation. It's fair, seeing as he's pretty much on his own. Britain's going down. He's against as many opponents as me and my ally. I say my ally, with the other ally were. But Prussia just is being unhelpful. This is really stupid thing to do. So they're all communicating. We probably should have been. We weren't, but we put up the best fight we could. But Prussia's, I'm not sure if it's stupidity or just wanting to get as many kills as he could. But the red on this mini-map, this red blob right in the centre, that's Prussia. Look how far the blue stretches. Blue is our enemy. He's allowing himself to get surrounded. And the way that he's... Oh, oops, did not make it clear. The way that he is not in a solid line, he is facing that way, facing that way, facing that way, in a kind of semicircular shape, facing outwards, means that he's asking to get surrounded. He tries to advance into his town. He doesn't utilise all these streets to wrap around the, of course, outnumbering French and British coalition. Instead, he just marches them in a solid line towards riflemen. He tries to support here on the left, but that's marching straight to their bulk. Britain just gets wrapped from their right flank and charged. Even the general, the French general, starts charging, and for some reason he turns around, probably because the rifles turn to shoot at him. So yeah, there's just 2 British rifle units left, and they got stakes, so that's probably why the general stopped, and they consider him done. And now this there's still 4 armies against this one now. Depleted, I gather. See, the British general was charging the rifles was just killed. He charges his foot guards into the Polish line. Not quite realizing though that there is another Polish Legion unit here to support from the flank. These foot guards then go into support. And these Landwehr militia is shooting in, but he makes the mistake of pulling these musketeers out. I mean, it's a fair move if you consider that he's being shot at from the high ground here by these Highlanders. So that's always a bad idea. But he pulls them out, leaving his foot guards here open to the French, who then of course charge in and get them stuck, which means he takes huge casualties there. He's got riflemen and musketeers who are depleted, pulling back to hit the rest of his line, who are not trying to utilize all this space on the left, or even utilize it on the right. I mean, I gather that it's hard when you're outnumbered, but you can at least try. I mean, I tried in that forest, but I'm not sure what my ally's doing. It's like he's trying to make a heroic Hollywood-style last stand, but it just doesn't work on this game. He's too bunched up, too rigid, too close together. It's what I always said the only issue with manipular organization on Rome 1 online and all the other melee-based games is that when playing as the Romans, you do kind of find yourself getting and all other pike units, you get very rigid and stuck into formations. In order to win, you need to keep your organization, but whilst at the same time using flexibility, and this is just quite simply not what my Prussian opponents do. He tries to flank round here because he did break the Polish Legion, in fairness, but that's not enough. This isn't enough. In fairness, it was Voltigeurs charging into Landwehr. I mean, I wouldn't say that my opponents were the most strategically sound. I'll give credit to the host, who was the Briton in the middle. He seemed to know what he was doing. He was just supporting all his allies, realizing he wasn't attacked. Other than that, allowing themselves to get wrapped. In fact, it was here, wasn't it? Allowing themselves to get wrapped here, inducing huge casualties, and not doing anything over here were stupid moves. But then again, my allies weren't the most strategically sound either, which is a shame. Look, I understand you're trying to wrap, but you don't march. You march out here. You don't. I don't know. It's a learning process, I'll gather. But this was a 5/6 star ally, so I'm not sure how they got those stars. I mean, then as I say, they're not against the best of opponents, considering they do allow themselves. I mean, their wrapping isn't the only way to win. You don't necessarily need to defend against it to win, especially when you've got solid British and French lines. But you can't allow yourself to get surrounded like that, and they did. And so he's not against the best opponent, but he is still making stupid moves. Especially when he wraps in front of their lines. The issue is that he just gets shot to pieces, and he cannot replace his men because he is outnumbered. He's using tactics that would possibly work if you had the numerical advantage, but he doesn't. And so he's just isolating units and also being too rigid with his other flank here on the left. I do have to give him credit. Now that British ally has been completely wiped out, he does try to advance the rest of his army. My enemies do. Credit, my ally does keep pulling back every time they get within shooting range, which just wears them out. So I will give him credit for that. He tries to do it here on the right, but they're already caught up. Plus he's utilising his rifles as though they are a part of the line instead of a separate entity, which rifles are. But at last he's finally doing something, which is to pull back, make his opponents wear out when they're already depleted and worn out, come to him and attack him on the high ground in a line. They're not. In fairness, now to criticise my opponents, they are not utilising the flanks well enough. This task force of British troops should be sent over here. These young guards should not be marching over there, they should be marching over there. And there shouldn't be a clump here. As you see, because now they're just marching into a big clump straight at his guns and getting worn out. It's the sort of stuff that you see in old paintings of the War of Independence and stuff like that. And it's stupidity over anything. This just marching up the hill at him is stupidity. Especially when he's made so many mistakes on his right flank and his left. All around, my ally has made so many mistakes, but so are my enemies, and this is the only thing that gives him hope, I suppose, that they're making a lot of mistakes. But if both sides are making mistakes, as they are, it's going to be the team with not only the most unit experience, but also the better quality units and also the numerical advantage. They've got 3 advantages there, which together add up to both quantity and quality on my enemy's side. That will win. So this guy's in a bad shape if he continues. However, he makes a good move. He tries to flank on the right here by taking this town. Good move. Good. He's finally utilising his flanks. He needs to be wary of shooting into the buildings, though. These units aren't going to do anything because they got buildings in the way. And because they're just shooting the buildings, it allows my enemy to get into the town themselves, and then that ruins the whole advantage of flanking. Another issue: the centre of the line. Attacking, let alone when defending, should never be in front of the flanks, in my opinion. This is always how I play. And he's got his flank here on the left behind them, possibly because he wants this high ground, which is an overrated advantage. High ground really doesn't help that much when you're against a strategically sound opponent. But he should advance them. I understand he's making this flank, which is finally doing something, going up the right. He should make them work, which he is, but at the same time he shouldn't let them get round on that hill, which they are doing. On equal ground in the end, because if he's letting them up here, and on his left flank. As you see, because he did not utilise this space enough, and of course found himself in the buildings, he just shot a couple of bullets into the side of buildings. The Highlanders got onto his flank within the town, so he's been counter-flanked, and he can't come round to counter-flank because 2 young guard units are coming round themselves. This is good flanking. This is utilising the buildings to get completely on the flank. So he charges his foot guards into this building, which is currently, seeing as it looks though he's going to lose the battle, that's a fair enough move. I mean, there's no artillery, so this building isn't going to be blown to pieces. They've got to either shoot in the windows, which they have the disadvantage of, my enemies, or they have to melee charge in order to take that building. So that's not going to be easy without artillery's take. Issue though, it means that he's pretty much letting go of the rest of his army, which in fairness, most people would when they consider that the majority of their army is Jaegers and Schützen, rifle skirmishers against outnumbering, better quality line infantry. Although in fairness they are worn out, he could use that, but no point really at this point in the battle. Against those numbers it wouldn't work. Oh, it might do, but he's not doing that. Anyway, so both young guard units are charged into this building. His last line infantry on the right breaks, which means he's got the 2 left in the middle and this 1 left on the left flank. Because he didn't move, because he was so content to use his high ground, as worn out as these units are, look how many units he has got on his left flank who are climbing this hill on pretty much equal ground against 1 unit here. His centre is breaking from the right. as you can see, and now these units are stuck out in the open in this building. These Highlanders move over here to flank, as does this general. He then... I can't work out whether he stays like this and shoots or he goes into the building. I think that he starts shooting on this flank, which is a good move. He wraps and then he moves them into the building, because these foot guards are winning against the two young guard units. I mean, the foot guards are very good units. Plus, they've got the defensive advantage of a building. And the same amount of experience. They've each got one chevron. So one young guard unit has broken. You see they're running out. The other one's still fighting. The British line infantry has finally caught up with the Prussians, and they will win that fight against Jaegers, Silesian, Schutzen, and very weak militia and basic musketeers. British line infantry, especially elite 42nd, you can see there, and the 88th, also elite, will win. Plus, you've got these skirmishers here in the perfect positioning. This, and of course this right flank moving over this hill, who now have the high ground, ironically. For some reason he does the noob tactic of forming a square at the end. This only works against cavalry, and he's not getting charged by cavalry. I mean, there's cavalry here, but they are not charging the square, so it would be more effective to just send all guns at them instead of just the one side of the square. It's only melee charges that this really works against square formation. See, the foot guards are winning this fight against the young guard, and so these Highland foot, it was a different Highland foot unit in the end, do charge in to support. They get inside the building the moment the young guard in here actually break, I believe. Yep, see. So it's just swapped the young guard for a fresher Highland foot, which is the issue, I say, with numbers. Remember, one unit breaks, you can replace it with another.
This building has fallen to the enemy.
And in the end they lose the building. See, the foot guards broke just after the young guard did. And they didn't break and run out. They fought to the last man, the foot guards inside their building. So credit to them. That was brave. But as you can see, surrounded, lost your high ground, outnumbered, and a loss of quality. Prussia is isolated and screwed.
All hope is lost, sir. This battle is almost done.
Anyway, they finally break, and that is that. GG. Battle over. It raged, well, from... Oh, I was going to show you, but okay. It raged all the way across the map. So I lost that battle. I would say the reason I lost was lack of communication between myself and my allies, whereas obviously my opponents were communicating. Both teams made a lot of mistakes, especially my allies on the furthest side of the battle to me, and the opponents who I was directly facing made a lot of mistakes. As it happened, I deployed the second least, joint second least. Oh no, third least, should I say? Joint third least. I lost the least on my team. Having deployed the least on my team, I also lost the second least on my team, sorry. And I killed the most on my team. So you could argue I put in the most effort for my team, but the fact that I died at the beginning would go... Then again, there wasn't any high point. I'd say the only high point for our team was when we took the right flank, because that was a bonus, but unfortunately we couldn't hold it. Couldn't hold that advantage. Just the moment we lost that, I'd say that because the other two players weren't communicating, they just isolated themselves from each other. They lost. So GG to my opponents. That was good teamwork of them. And yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised the one of the French opponents got the most kills, because he made a lot of. I'm pretty sure he was almost wiped out at the beginning. I know his little clan friend was, and the host killed the second most, me being third overall. Although I'd say that the host did the best job, definitely on the opposing team, because they were evenly distributing their troops among their allies in order to support, because the Prussians who he was facing weren't doing anything. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please feel free to comment, rate, subscribe. There will be plenty more videos coming, although mainly my Total Rome 2 campaign, which I'm currently uploading. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I shall see you guys next time.